just want to say I'm very glad I had the peaceful walk that I had. Those are cars coming down a giant sand dune. I had originally thought that I should park here, which this is the official parking spot for Silver Lake State Park, but this is right on top of a bunch of businesses that are all about cars and buggies and whatnot, riding on sand. We'll see if another one comes down. There were like 4 that just came down from there. Anyway, it's extremely loud, and I am noise sensitive, and I can adjust to loud noises no problem. Like, I actually like when Brian practices drums because I like what the benefit is for him, and it can drown out other rambly voices, you know, in my own head. I don't mean plural voices, I more just mean like my own voice. And I don't know, I don't have plural voices. Oh, here comes one. That one's not as loud. Oh, there comes another one. That's more like a dune buggy, like what I was expecting. There's a business, I think, called Mac Woods. Dune buggy rides. But I'd always thought it would be really fun. It probably would be fun. But then that makes this lake about that, or these dunes about that, which means you don't really come here for peace and quiet and nun-like behavior. You ain't gonna get none of that. I like making nun jokes. You haven't noticed? Haven't made any in a while. Well, maybe I'll write a song here just to kind of encapsulate the absurdity. I do like the forest. It's nice to be in the forest, and this dune is huge. Like, there's better perspective, maybe. Okay, let's find a spot to put this down, and I'll make that some piano song finally, and we'll have the absurdity of the dune buggies in the background because of all the peaceful place I was just walking by. Picking this as the spot to write the song is totally absurd. Sorry, I'm digging in my purse. Maybe I can even get some dune buggies coming down the hill in the back. Actually, no, I don't want that. Let's get the gorgeous dune, which is what I came here for. Wow. Okay. If you don't know what a dune is, it's a sand mountain. But someone would make fun of me, I'm sure, and say, like, sand hill, Jessica. But, like, some of them are really big, like little sand cliffs, which is as dangerous as it sounds, like you would think. So they're also very fragile, so they're often, like, protected in, like, an ecological sort of way. And then there's specific paths. I think my phone was dead when Brian and I were at the most epic part of our one at Grand Mere State Park, down in Stevensville. I'm up in... I think I'm technically in a town called Mears, which is funny. Not Grand Mere. Total other parts. But I think I'm also by towns called like Hart and Shelby. Anyway, Michigan fun facts. Here's a song that I haven't written yet. I feel so uninspired with all the loud, like, drag racing noise. Let me see if I can tune it out. That's something that Michigan has taught me how to do, is how to just be in my own world and not be in yours. All right, here we go. Being here with the air, with the birds and the breeze. It's you and me in my mind. We're a family of birds, well, wolf birds, and we're here being clear, being unafraid and uninspired by the world's ways, dear. I like you, dear, you're in my mind all the time, most of the time, some of the time, and I'm afraid. I'm only going to be getting weirder now. But it's okay with you, I know it is. 'Cause you let me know in so many ways that you're here for the whole thing. The whole dang buggy ride. It's not too buggy in spring. I meant that kind of buggy ride. And you can come inside my heart and my mind. Oh, and we can float and fly this time and time. And it'll be just fine. That was a love song for Brian. And he's not even here. And it was barely about dune buggies because I can tune things out now. That really is something. I think I could do it in Chicago, but I could do it because everyone was tuning me out there too. But to be able to do it when people are staring at you, like I could do it on stage as a kid, but that's different. I just rambled about that recently. I'm not interested in rambling about that anymore right now. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go hike this dune. I hope you have a good day. I hope your life is not as distracting as a beautiful bit of scenery and nature that is somewhat ruined by grumbling loud cars and dune buggies. And I'm gonna take this metaphor with me because I walked 2.5 miles to get here, and I get here and it's disappointing, but it's also funny. And so you are seeing me in my first 5 minutes of that long walk, and I have to make the long walk back, and instead of being disappointed, I'm just letting it be comedy. Because life is what it is, and you can try to fight it, or you can just fight it on a default setting and just be grumble, grumpy old man, grumpy old woman on a front porch in your 70s or 80s or 90s or whatever the stereotype is. But I've seen some grumpy young men before and grumpy young women, and they're some of the worst, and I've been one. So I am very actively growing on this topic because you have to grow. You can either die or you can grow, and complaining all the time is killing your own spirit. So you want to do that, go right ahead. I probably won't be the one to listen to you. And either will be the other people who are focusing on growth. Because people who are focusing on growth are oftentimes wilted or distracted by listening to a focus on complaints. Like some people, like the concept of venting from like the 90s and the 2000s, and people being like, oh, I just want to vent. It's like, think about what you're venting to. Are you venting to a tree, or are you venting to somebody else's ear and heart and being and spirit? Because if so, you getting it out of you means you put it on them. You actively just put something on them. And if you don't think you did, well, then you don't understand how the universe works. And I'm not trying to say, and I do, but I guess I'm kind of saying, and I do. Only through research and like 20 years of reading like spiritual books and emotional books and all these things. The wisdom's not coming from me. I'm not the originator of it, and I'm not the last one to understand it. And I'm sure I'm a baby in the spiritual realm on a lot of topics. So I'm just saying this is a topic I've done a lot of personal research on, and I can tell you for a fact that in every setting there's either the bowl, the thing in the bowl, or both things are equal, maybe, you know, or what, now you're a bowl for this thing. Like, if you are dumping something into something else, that other thing is having to actively receive you. And having been like a self-prescribed nice person for a long time, I have actively received a lot. And my biggest sources of resentment on this planet have probably been when I've actively received, and then if that same person can't even receive even a tiny bit from me before like shutting down or running away, then I have realized that my time with them was completely wasted, except perhaps in spiritual and emotional ways. I'm happy to have helped them, but when someone is not willing and or able to be even remotely balanced with you, if you're always the bowl and they are always the venter or the dumper, that is extremely unhealthy, and it is not kind to yourself. It's not kind to your spirit. And I will warn you from my own pain and my own ways of getting out of imbalanced relationships that it is not very solvable unless you start to solve it. You either have to start asking them to be a bowl and tell them it hurts you if they run away, or you yourself have to pull away and stop being the bowl for them. Something. Either way, it's going to be painful. So getting into those types of intensely imbalanced relationships, I think in my case it came out of a sort of self-righteousness, like thinking that I could be the kindest person and help the most people and do so much for people who weren't getting enough opportunities. It came from noble reasons, but then it turned on me and became like a form of almost arrogance, thinking I'm so great that I can help so many people and start a festival and do house shows and help as many people as I can and really be there for different friends who wanted to like share things for like 4 hours and like really listen. And then, you know, when they say like the thing of like sometimes, I will get into that. Like someone who talks about themselves when you're complaining, they might be doing it because you're complaining so much, and maybe you're not asking them anything about their life, and maybe it's a way to have a voice and have some sort of self inside the moments of listening to you complain. That could be it. But that's only happened to me a couple times, but in other relationships I just straight up do that sometimes. Which is also because I learned that in therapy. Like, say someone's complaining to you and you don't want to like judge the person they're complaining about or judge the situation they're complaining about, then you might say, well, one time I went through something like that and blah, 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 and this is what I learned from that. And that's a way of not joining in the complaining, but then that can be something that they complain about because they don't like it that you're making it about you. And that's fair. But then you have to let them know, well, I'm doing that because I'm not comfortable joining in the complaining. Because they genuinely might not understand it. They might just think that when they vent to you, you're making it about you. And then you have to like have the inner strength to say, I'm making it about me because I learned that in therapy, that I don't want to attack you for complaining, and I don't want to attack the people you're complaining about. I'm just not uncomfortable with complaining in general, so I'm bringing it back to myself the way you would like in an argument in a relationship. They say that you should never say you statements, like you hurt me by doing this, and you did this, and you always don't empty the dishwasher, or you always don't do this. You're supposed to make I statements, like I feel overwhelmed when you don't empty the dishwasher. I'm just kidding. I feel overwhelmed when I'm repeatedly emptying the dishwasher, and I feel like kind of alone in it, like I'm not helped or something like that. This isn't actually one of my issues. We don't even have a dishwasher, but I learned that one in therapy or a book or something. I don't know. So, you know, by making I statements, it's supposed to have a positive impact. But now in this day and age, so many people are doing that, probably because of therapy and all these therapist models. But now that's becoming a new complaint from people, is like, how come when I tell a story, someone just immediately responds with like, well, I went through that once and this is what I did. Think of it this way. If someone's always responding to you with, well, I went through that once, and then this is what I felt, or this is what I did, that's their way of saying, I don't have this issue you have, I am overwhelmed by how much you're complaining. I don't like to complain. It makes me feel really heavy. Again, being the bowl, you're complaining at them. You're feeling better because you're dumping it into them. So it's their way of saying, when they bring it back to themselves, it's their way of saying, I don't have this issue. I don't have this complaint. Either they've worked on it or they just don't have it. And I'm not that comfortable listening to this without trying to help you not feel so annoyed at this thing or that thing or these people. I'm trying to share with you a story in which that similar thing happened to me, and here's how I dealt with it. But that sounds arrogant, but it just is true. Like, it's very uncomfortable if someone's venting to you to just say, like, dude, just stop complaining. It's really overwhelming for me. Or, I don't know. I don't know. And this has been in small relationships and in big relationships that I've seen this pattern. And I have been the complainer. Like, epically so in some scenarios. And then in other scenarios, not. I'm often the bull. And then in some relationships, and this is what I think you should always shoot for, in some relationships it's kind of balanced. You know, you never really want any relationship, even for one day, to be 100% like this. Like, that's terrible. You want it to be like water over a rock. I don't know, whatever. Now I'm just talking idealism, but the world is messy and weird, and I was just driving past places where I was too broken to even be remotely a good person, and my idea of a good person. And I forgave in that moment, my 2021 moment, I had to forgive my 2012 self and just be like, okay, but that was because of this, and because of this, and because of this, you know? Sometimes I look back on my own past self and I'm like, how the heck did I do that? Why did I do that? Just things that I did that were heartbreaking, and I'm like, I just have to see my own past, which means my own past self. I almost have to bring my own past self to mind, which is easy for me because I've been all different weights, and I've dressed all different ways, so I kind of look different in all my past versions of myself. So this is new for me to be like, don't just imagine my now self back in those times making those choices, because of course that doesn't make sense. Of course I can't understand that. But if I bring the full context of who I was back then to mind, and how hurt I was all the time, and how broken, and how much I couldn't think straight because of the context of my life at the time, and how I didn't have support systems, and I didn't have someone really helping and building life with me, and I didn't even have peace and quiet. I wasn't even single where I could think straight in that way. I had nothing positive, very little positive. Had some positives. We always probably all do things to be grateful for, but and I need to remember that when I think of my past choices. I need to remember how painful my daily experience was. Like when I first moved to Michigan, I was around a lot of toxic people on a regular basis. And I didn't have the strength to manage it or block it out. And I don't actually like the phrase toxic people. No one is 100% toxic. That's like saying someone is always this, and it's not true. But some people are more broken and more hurt than others, and some people have done less work to deal with it than others. And so the ways that they affect others are more it's that whole unaware thing. Some people are aware of themselves and some people are not. The unexamined life. Research that. To me, that's the biggest waste of life, would be to live an unexamined life. I'm probably a too examined life, but paying attention helps me. That is, wow, I just blocked a lot of stuff out. That's so annoying. Okay, I probably won't be back to this one unless I want to go on a dune buggy ride, but I am going to hike up the stairs now. I'll bring you with on that. Got a zipper.
Because everything gets rented so fast out here.
Okay, I put the thumb piano away and just heard someone say, "'Cause everything gets rented so fast out here." Good to know. Thanks for the pro tip. This does not need to be a bucket list item. That's one of the things that's hard. If you like to explore lots of places, it's very hard to go to a place, like some aspects about it, but take it in enough at the first visit, knowing it might be your last. And you need to like somehow mitigate the feeling of like almost regret before it even happens. It's like, look, I'm about to go up some really cool dune stairs. I kind of feel like a feeling of kind of regret, like, oh, I don't like this enough to ever want to come back here. But then conversely, if I love a place, then I can feel a different kind of regret, like, oh, I wish I lived closer, I want to always come back here. Being a traveler type who loves going different places can be very emotional. Whoa. But I'm not actually feeling emotion right now, I'm just feeling analytical. If I would just stop talking and be present, that would probably be the best choice. Well, I think I'll turn it on for another video if I really want to show you the lake, but you've seen tons of lakes through me, and you've seen a bunch of lakes yourself. The girl smiled at me. Here's the only unique thing. I'll let you watch some cars come down. Dun, dun, dun. There's a bug on me. Dancing dune buggy, oh yeah. That one's weird. Alright, well I hope this was fun for you. Now you know what a dune buggy rental place looks like, or at least what they look like when they're exiting. I never knew what it looked like, and I've lived by here. The music festival that we play up north, we'd always drive past this way. So I never really knew, but yeah, those are cars literally driving on sand. It's pretty cool. I think the little buggies look the most fun. Just the, you know, the one that looks like a little three-wheeler. I feel like my brother-in-law would really like this place. Well, the end. Bye.